Hi,
Hi.
hi.
How are you?
Okay, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm still waking up, so pardon me if my brain is not working as fast as I want
I
it to
see.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there will be 8:30 in the morning there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
almost 8:30.
So
Yeah.
actually
I had
it's
my coffee.
oh okay, nice, nice. Good, good.
Hmm.
Hi GDC's friends. Welcome to one-on-one GDC's one-on-one conversation between me, Ndaru Darsono, the music director of Gloria de Cantores, and with our special guest tonight, my friend here, Dr. Chia Wee Kiat.
Oof.
Yeah,
Hello.
Doctor of Musical Arts from Boston University College of Fine Arts. Good morning, Wee Kiat.
Good, good evening to you.
Yeah. By the way, he's in Boston right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Waking up.
yeah, Wee Kiat, I still remember clearly last November when we performed together the
Yeah.
B minor mass. You remember that under Reverend Lee?
Of course.
And then
Of
we
course.
have four combined choirs, Jakarta Festival Chorus, Gloria de Cantores, Hallelujah Singers from Singapore, and the BCCMA Singers from East Malaysia. Do you remember that? Yeah, we
Of
performed,
course.
we shared the same stage. And then
Hmm.
I still can remember vividly when you sing Agnus Dei. At that time, wow, I was there sitting, behind you. I closed my eyes, then I feel that the whole hall, the breath are absorbed by you, and then
Oh,
nobody
thank
dared to
you.
take a breath. And then you sing that,
Me neither.
especially that soft part when you sing the soft passages, and then the orchestra also play very soft. Oh, that was very amazing. And then
Thank
I,
you.
I believe that's not only because of your good technique. I think it is way more than that. I think because it is because of your relationship with God. I believe so.
Exactly.
Then you
I
can understand. You can sing the text from your heart. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm still learning. Every day is a lesson, right? Every day
yes,
is another day in our journey nearer to God, and through our music making, I get closer to Him every time I perform as
yes,
well.
yes. We need to do that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about our topic tonight, countertenor. Okay.
Yeah.
Just one simple question: what is a countertenor? We
So,
can.
uh, so when we talk about the countertenor voice, we have to go way back to history, and then we all know, most of us know, that music derived from
Mm,
church, right? So in the
that's it.
early Renaissance period, so following the Bible, the Catholic Church actually didn't allow women to serve in
Yeah.
public, to serve in church,
Yeah.
mainly because of the chapter 14, verse 34
Yeah.
of First Corinthians. It says, "Let the women keep silence in the churches." But we all know, as we are singers and we are chorus members, we know that we need four parts in our choir singing. We have soprano, alto, tenor, bass.
Always.
And
Yes.
today we have the women to sing the soprano range and the alto
Yeah.
range. But then, as we
At the
speak,
time, they were banned from singing in the church services, right? Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
Because of that
But for the
verse. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But for the purpose of music, we need somebody to sing the four parts, right?
Yes.
So we had the boy sopranos to sing the soprano part,
Soprano one.
but
Yeah.
it might be too low for the boys to sing the alto part, right?
Mm.
And that's when we have men singing in falsetto
Yeah.
uh, to take over the alto part, and it wasn't called a countertenor then,
Yeah.
mainly just the male alto, but the term was what the term came into wide use in the 17th century in England, but
Mm.
then the practice of having male singing alto or like in falsetto go way back to the history. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it 14th or 15th century already? Contratenor is used. So when we are
Yeah,
talking
I would.
about the range of the voice, actually, it's similar to female contralto or mezzo soprano. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But nowadays we have more countertenors
I see.
uh, being able to sing higher range, and
Ah.
sometimes they would categorize themselves as sopranists. So it's
Ah.
like countertenor, but if they can sing in the soprano range, sometimes they would call themselves a sopranist.
Sopranist.
Yeah.
IST. Okay,
Yeah, sopranist.
sopranistas. Okay, I
Yeah.
just knew that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So actually, this yeah, you know the term castrati or castrato.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Can you explain a little bit about that, we can? Because I
So
think
we,
that we use at that time they use that role. Also, they use contra castrato to sing in opera with
yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So the origin of a castrato is actually also from church music. We
mm,
talked about countertenors and voice sopranos being used to sing soprano range and alto range in the church music, right?
yeah,
But because of the different technique, then now we
mm,
have a better developed kind of countertenor voice. But back then, maybe it was a little bit weaker because falsetto always give an impression of like a little bit airy and a little
mm,
bit weaker back then.
okay,
And
okay.
voice soprano, once they grew up, the voice will break. So, uh, uh, it's very short-lived.
Yeah.
And even when they're in their full voice soprano range, it's
Yeah.
still lack of power, because they're
Mm.
kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So back then they had a very cruel way to preserve a boy
Mm.
voice, which is through castration. For us
Oh.
now, it's like a punishment, but back then it was merely another method to create a beautiful voice. As crazy as it might sound in the modern perspective,
Yeah.
it was what it was. It is what it is, right?
I see.
So, so they use castration to preserve, to stop them from growing because they
Mm.
stop the hormones, right? And the
Yes.
lack of testosterone made the voice preserve the voice in a way, preserve the
Oh.
boy's voice.
Yeah.
But because of the lack of testosterone, also it keeps the body from it keeps it growing and growing, and then they grew proportionally larger than a normal person would.
Mm.
So so now they have a huge adult body,
Yeah.
more huge than a normal person,
Yeah.
but they have a boy vocal cord. So with the combination of these two, it creates a unique sound, a
Yeah.
powerful lung capacity, but with a very delicate vocal cord. That's why they
Oh.
have such a huge uniqueness, huge virtuosity, huge power in their voice,
I see.
and that slowly took over the role of countertenors and voice sopranos in the church. And
Mm.
because of that power and uniqueness, uh, and we all know about opera world, right? The
Yes.
operatic world is all about drama, about powerful voice, and that attracted the composers to start using them for the opera world, and
I
that's
see.
and that's why having them sing in the opera is what we know uh,
Mm.
about them today. You know.
Ah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, good to know that. Yeah. Yeah, and then if we are talking that was an opera, and then we are talking about music, just music. Actually,
Mhm.
the countertenor is also have a very good, how you say, with church music, that
Yeah,
very
connection.
related to it. Yeah, connection. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then you mentioned last time about Handel's Messiah. You remember?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Would you share with us? Yeah.
so this conversation not only about countertenor voice, like, so
Yeah.
because we also want to talk about a little bit of the controversies of
Yes. Yeah.
using
Yeah.
countertenor voice.
Yeah.
And the main controversies for me using countertenor voice in the modern
Mm.
history is
Yeah.
the authenticity of having one countertenor in a performance. So
Mm.
right, so
Yeah.
bef- I think we have to start with the early music revival in the 1970s. So we talked about castrati taking over countertenor role. So countertenor was kind of faded away
Mm.
from the public, but they were kept in the church traditional all male choir. That's how they survived through
Mm.
time. But during 1970s, there was a thing called early music revival, and musicians started to get back to this interest of early music during that time. That's why they started to look for more like composition from the past. And then from that research and everything, they found the music for church music, for early church music. And from there, they see the part for countertenor. And then they found the part for castrati. And and they started to want to, revive them in the music stage. So they have to bring they have to find a substitute for the voices, right?
I see.
So before early music, in the beginning of the early music revival, people started already to sing early music because, but uh, the singing style back then is very much influenced by the romantic period, right? Because it's just slowly transitioning into a new era. So they found the music, they just started to sing them in whatever way they are already singing in. But then as the new music, early music movement mature, they started to move into this thing called period performance practice, and then try to realize what is the voice type, what is the right kind of way to sing these repertoire. And then because of the newfound interest in countertenor voice, they think, okay, so maybe we can have the countertenor to sing the alto part, but then it was sung usually by a mezzo soprano. So now today, so we have this debate: should we use a mezzo soprano to sing, or should we have a countertenor to sing? Okay, but then we have to go all the way back to Handel's time when he composed Messiah. So when he composed Messiah, he did know some of the castrati, and it's arguably that he did know or didn't know about countertenor. So, but we do know that countertenors were already singing the choir, right? But talking about the soloist, when he wrote Messiah, he specifically wrote for a contralto. So she was a female singer, And then during one of the revival, he met this great castrato, and then he really wanted him to be a part of the new performance, the new rendition of the performance. So she split some of the mezzo sopranos arias for the castrato. So I use the word split. He didn't replay the mezzo soprano. He only split the repertoire. And before that specific new rendition, the one of the most famous aria from Messiah for alto is "But Who May Abide." It was originally written for a bass, and it wasn't even an aria. It was a recitative.
I see.
So he recomposed that recitative into an aria for castrato. So come back to today's idea of performance practice while we were talking about Messiah performance. So if we are such a purist in playing early music, should we have 4 soloists?
Or 5?
Like soprano, alto, tenor, bass, the alto be mezzo soprano, countertenor? Or should we actually have 5 because of the newest rendition? So when we talk about period performance practice, although it sounds, for me, for our ears, it sounds like, oh, it's the most authentic way to perform the music that is originally intended by and created by the composer. But when we talk about the authenticity of early music, how can we make sure that it's so authentic, that it's so original as the original performance, right? Because we have only written a record, we don't have a CD, we don't have a video clip to watch, and as a reference, what we could do is to guess and to interpret, with the information that we have. So I would say period performance practice is as accurate as you can be informed. So the more information you have, the more informed you have, the closer you could you can't be as original as what it was intended. But
Ah,
but is using countertenor uh, an authentic choice? I wouldn't say so, but it is a newfound interpretation for period performance practice, because it's very interesting. It's always a debate among musicians, and there's no conclusion because it's a constant argument and interpretation. And all we can do is interpret, right?
Yeah.
So today, if we are using countertenor, to the most purest point of view, it is not authentic, because as we just learned that it was composed for, at least for the newest rendition, it was composed for soprano, mezzo soprano, slash contralto, a castrato, a tenor and bass. Obviously, we don't have castrato nowadays, right?
Yes, of course.
And then we use countertenor to replay the absence of the castrato. Now, since we have talked so much about castrato, I might need to move in a little bit to the idea of using countertenor as castrato, the replacement for castrato, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. So we talked about early music revival, and when they first found the role for castrato or castrati, they were having a problem. They were having problems to find a substitute for that voice, because obviously it's illegal now to do that for the music purpose.
Yeah.
So they looked at the role, mainly the operatic role. So the opera roles that were written for a castrato was usually a male heroic role. So on that idea, on that thought, the early version, early revision of the Baroque opera, they used tenor or a baritone to sing the roles, because obviously it's a male role, right?
Yes.
And then it's a heroic role, and very much influenced by the heroic character from the Romantic opera, all the big tenors, as you would know. Yeah. So they use that kind of similar idea to put it in the castrato role.
Yes.
But as we say, the idea of early music, as it matures, people look closer beyond the role. They look closer into the music and see that, if we have tenor and bass, the music won't work because it's an octave lower than what it was intended.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And that's when they started to use mezzo soprano or a soprano to sing those roles. Yes, now we solve the problem, right? For the music purpose, we have the high range, but it is a male role. It is a male role. So although this idea is also very much influenced by the Pence roles from operas from Mozart or some later operas, we have women playing a male role that was intended by the composer. So it's a little bit of that kind of influence. But again, the purists come and rethink about the entire idea, and how can we solve both sides of the problems, We need a male.
Yeah.
We need a high voice. And then, I think we have countertenors, because countertenors are male.
Yeah.
And also singing in a higher range.
Yeah,
although we don't go although we don't go through surgery to create that. That's why one is nurtured and one is manufactured. No, one is nature, one is kind of created, right?
Yeah.
So so the description, if you look on the paper of a countertenor, I think most suits the description of a castrato, right?
Yeah.
But we wouldn't say it is exactly the same. No, it's totally different. But when we try to find a replacement, a substitute, whenever we want to find something to replace something, we want to find something that is most similar to the original one. So in a way, we're
best option.
I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's the closest.
The closest,
right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like using countertenor to pay tribute to the castrati instead of like replacing them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Nice, nice. Yeah.
it's a
By
long
the
story. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. We learn a lot. I believe everybody learn a lot from you, what you shared just now. Before we continue, everybody, if you want, you have question, you can press the question mark button beside the comment box, and then type your question there. If we have time, we will discuss about the question. Yeah, we kept up talking about countertenor with its controversies.
Mhm.
What makes what made you decide to be a countertenor?
Yeah.
Can you share with
So
us maybe? Yeah,
absolutely, it's a fun story that everybody asks me, and I never get bored or tired of answering this
I
question
see.
because it's a little fun story of my life.
Okay.
So I didn't know anything about countertenor while I was already sort of singing like a countertenor slash voice
Wow.
soprano.
Okay.
So some of you, and of course you, know my sister Ian, right? So
Yeah.
when I was
I
just a
think she's
kid,
here. Hi, Ian.
really?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I'm sharing like juicy gossip or something. Yeah. Yeah. So when I was a kid, while I was still in primary school, I started singing very young, because
I
my
see.
entire family loved music. We sing karaoke, we sing while my brother was playing the guitar. So we sing since I was like the first day that I have memory, right?
Nice. Yeah.
So, but Ian, I don't want to say how many years ahead of me. Ian is definitely older than me.
Wow.
So when she started learning singing in choir in high school choir, and also later she went to Vienna to further study. She was a soprano. She is still a soprano singing. So whenever I would hear, give me a second. It's very loud. Whenever I would hear her sing, like at home or at school, I would just like mimic her, like oh, make kind of being an annoying boy, kind
I
of like
see.
making fun of her. Although I
Yeah.
was already kind of admire the singing, but
Ah.
kids do kids sometimes are, annoying as I was. So I would like mimic her. I would just and make fun of her singing in falsetto like nobody else's business. But I didn't know much about it. I thought it was just me having fun,
Yeah.
making fun of her, just making silly voices. Not until I went to high school, I went to the same choir as my sister went, high school for new choir, for new high school choir.
Mm.
And then we learned about many different types of vocal singing. We learned about choral music. We learned about many different types of choral genres. And
Yeah.
then our teacher introduced us vocal ensemble like the King Singers. So if you
Ah.
don't know, the King Singers are six male
Males. Yes.
singing choir, sort of like a choral music for soprano, alto, tenor, bass. One soprano part, one alto part, one tenor, one baritone, one bass.
Mm.
But they were all male, right? So while I
Yes.
was listening to them, I was like, what is what is that voice? What is that high range there? But you know,
No.
there's no
No. No.
girl, there's no
Female. Yeah.
lady,
Yeah. Yes.
female. So then I started to realize like, oh, so the my making fun of my sister is not just a random thing that I just did for out of nowhere. It can actually be something. And then I started to really enjoy singing in quote unquote falsetto,
Mm.
and in countertenor voice. And so we loved it so much that five of my friends and I started to sing King Singer's repertoire. You know,
Wow. Okay.
and then it was great. It was well received by among our friends, among our teachers.
Yeah.
So, and that was when I first introduced to countertenor.
Ah.
So,
I see.
long story short, a few years later, after graduated high school, I was like, what can I do? I love music and I love music only. So what
Oh
can
yeah.
I do to pursue my study? You know? And then Ian suggested me, oh, why don't you try music school?
Ah.
And I
Okay.
was like, okay. And then, I mean, it's not a new thought to me, but it always seemed so far apart, but now is the day to make decision, right?
Yeah.
And she said, why don't you try countertenor and use that to audition for school? Back then, I didn't know nothing about yes to do music or no to do countertenor. I don't know. I didn't know anything to do. So when she suggested that, I was like, okay, let me try to use that voice to audition for school. And then she helped me with the preparation. And then after the audition, I started my school with my professional training as countertenor the next year. Yeah, the very next year. So that's how I started become a countertenor.
Wow. So
Thanks to
Ian
her.
is Ian is one of the most important person in your life. Yeah, for your music career, for being a countertenor. So that's interesting. And then talking about the controversies, don't you feel, a bit, in a way insecure or something because you are a male and then you are singing that female voice? Yeah.
Yeah. So as I told you just now, I knew nothing about countertenor, right? So it wasn't just me; it was the entire country. So back then there was no, at least in Malaysia and maybe in Indonesia, I don't know, we didn't have voice soprano, and YouTube wasn't a thing yet. So we couldn't get information about all male choir and everything, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't know much about it. While I was already starting my professional training as a countertenor, I felt really insecure in a way for the reason you just said, because I'm a man. I'm singing in a female range. It's kind of like, people might say girly because it's a female voice, right?
Yeah.
So I was very insecure. So when I was in school, even when I was in my studio, not just a small studio with a very small window on the door, whenever at the corner of my eye, I would see someone walk past it, I would stop singing, or I would start to sing very closely because I was like, because sometimes I would hear people laughing at the door, or when they pass by, they would be like making fun of me like I did to my sister. Karma is the real thing. So they would be like, oh, ha, 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 oh. So I started to grow really insecure about my singing voice. But then I shared it with my teacher then, Nancy. She said, oh, you shouldn't be feeling like that. If they are laughing at you, it's their problem. And it's so
Exactly.
because they're ignorant. It's not in a good way, in a bad way. It's just as it is what it is, right? They're ignorant because they didn't know much about it. So you should take it as an opportunity to educate them. You should take it as your calling to fine tune your craft so you can do your best. You can sing as a great countertenor, as good as you can, and teach them that this is nothing funny about it. There's nothing funny about this voice. It is a proper, with a huge history kind of voice type. So whenever, it is easier said than done, right? I couldn't just like, yes, now I'm strong, It took me some time to overcome that fear as well.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I overcame the fear, and now it becomes a fun game that I do with myself. So whenever I go to sing in public, maybe in a small town, for the first time that I knew that nobody had heard about, even the word a countertenor, whenever I sing, I will look at them. Usually they will be looking at the booklet,
and then they just look up.
And then when I start singing, they will look up. It's like, what?
Well, that's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, for me that's fun, and for me that's when I know that the lesson has started. Now let me teach you something. Not that I'm good or better, just from a teacher point of view. Like, yes, now I have brought this information to a new person, and then I have, make people a little bit more aware about the culture, and maybe in the future when they see a boy being able to sing in a soprano range, in a high alto range, they want to be in a choir as a soprano and alto, they would just think, okay, it is what it is. This is what he wants to do. He could do it, instead of like, no lah, this is so girly, no. So that's my hope for the next generation.
Wow, nice. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So so if let's say any male voice can they learn to sing, to be a countertenor, or not everybody can be a countertenor or a good countertenor. I
Um,
mean, for male voices, yeah, of course.
yeah, I mean, if if you want to do something, you can definitely pursue it. I'm not the person to ask you not to do it. But if you have the interest, then yes, go and find a teacher and have them help you with listening to your voice and see if you can really train into that voice. Yes, in a way, yes, okay. Long answer short is yes and no.
I see.
Yes, in a way, it's like everybody has falsetto. Even a female has has a falsetto range. So when we talk about male singing falsetto, yes, we can all do falsetto. But if you want to be a countertenor, that's a different story. You know, for me, countertenor is a very specific term
Mm.
that is not just a voice part. It's a
In a
term,
choir, it's not just
yeah,
a
yeah,
voice part in a choir. Yeah.
yeah. And in general, it's not just a voice part. It doesn't define your voice only. It
Mm.
carries a huge bag or burden of categories or whatever the terms that you have to be a part of. I know it sounds very wet, but hear me out. So, so when you want to be a countertenor, you need to know that you will be singing a lot of early music. You will be singing a lot of contemporary music.
Mm.
If that's part of the deal that you want to be, yes, go ahead and explore that voice type. Find a teacher, and then. But if you want to sing in a choir as a countertenor, that's good too. But it's only my explanation and my understanding for myself and the way I explain it. It might not be the same as some other countertenors.
Mm.
But if you want to be in a choir, usually we call them altos. They can be considered as countertenors, but for me, the term is so specific. If you are singing, let's say, like Indonesian or traditional music in falsetto, would I call you a countertenor? I don't think so, right?
Yes.
I might need another term. So
Yeah.
for me, it's that specific for that term. But if you want to train to be to be an alto in the male choir, yes, you definitely can. But
Okay.
having said that, we know that we are born with one voice, right?
Yes.
And also we are born with that specific voice. So
Yes.
why we have female soprano and female mezzo? Why can some of them mezzo soprano be a soprano? Because they are born with that voice. So if
Mm.
you are born with a tenor voice, if you are born with a bass voice, as much interest as you have for a countertenor voice, it might not be a good choice for you because you are not born with it.
Yeah.
So that's the no part of the answer. Yes part of the answer is if you're interested, yes, you can go ahead and explore. But if you find it at the end of the exploring that you are not a countertenor, you ultimately have to accept the voice that you have and honor that voice because we know that it's still a gift from God, right? Use
Exactly.
it to honor God. That's the
Yes.
intended way of you to sing to serve Him.
Yeah.
If everybody in the world want to be a countertenor, there will be no tenor or bass in the choir.
Yeah.
Everybody has a place in His plan. So yes, go ahead and explore,
Yeah.
and then accept what it is at the end of it, at the road of it, at
Yeah.
the end
That's
of the
why.
road.
That's why I still, proud being a tenor.
Yeah. I'm
Because I
proud
think,
that you're a tenor too.
yeah. Thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, talking about countertenor, maybe you can introduce to some beside yourself, or who is really a fine countertenor. Maybe some of us here want to know
Hmm.
some good countertenors like early 20th century. There are two names. Alfred Deller from is Britain, and
Hmm.
then from Britain, and then the other one Englishman, and the other one Russell Oberlin from American. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Those two are famous in the early 20th century or 20th century. Yeah.
Yes.
So
And thanks to them, that
yeah,
countertenor now is a thing. we talked about early music revival, and Alfred Deller was definitely one of the pioneers to start this early music revival. And
Yeah.
the reason why people are now interested in countertenor singing is because of his recording on the BBC radio. He did a song by Purcell, "Come Ye Art, Come Ye Son of Art," I think. It's a very Shakespearean title. I can never say it right every time. So, and because of his performance, Alfred Deller's performance of that aria in the on the BBC radio, people started to get more interested in countertenor voice, and that's in Britain. And Oberlin is the counterpart of Deller's
Yeah.
in the United States, and he
Yes.
did a lot of the similar work in the United States that help us to learn more about countertenor, and that's why there is a school in the United States named after Oberlin.
Oh,
School.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and if I have to choose one name from the pool, from the sea of countertenors in the modern day, is E.S.N. Davis. He's a Welsh. He has such a great, warm sound, great technique, great, voice production. But at the same time, it's not just mellowish, sweet, creamy. It's the brightness in his voice that completes the entire spectrum of a countertenor voice. So whenever I perform, even when I was doing Mass in D minor Mass with you guys and Reverend Lee, I listened a lot to his performance of time, time after time, just to be inspired. I wouldn't say I'm copying him because we don't want to copy someone else's voice.
Exactly.
But I was very much inspired by his performance, and thanks to him that you liked my rendition as well.
So he's from Wales. And then how you spell the name?
Iestyn, Iestyn, and Davis, Davies.
So everybody, please take note. If you want to listen to his singing, you can search in YouTube, and also you can search for a Wee Kiat name as well. He has a YouTube channel as well, and then we perform duet there as well online. Yeah, I enjoy that. Although although we cannot perform that live, not online. I'm looking forward for that.
Me too.
That duet, and also that From Messiah Death, Where Is Thy Sting? That's interesting duet. Yeah, maybe one day we should do that. Yeah. So we can. We, as you know, we are Christian. We are soloists. We are performers. We are again, we are Christian. And then how about you when you sing, when you were invited to sing, or when you perform, does that has our belief or your belief, does that influence your singing when you sing, regardless this is church music, sacred music, or secular music?
Yes, we know. I mean, as Christian in general, we know whatever we do, we want to glorify God.
Yes.
When we eat, we pray, right?
Yes.
When we teach in choir, we also, especially in church choir, we pray before we teach because we want to use our teaching as a blessing, also a testimonial to glorify God, right?
Yeah.
So
just
as
now,
a
even
singer,
we also pray before we start this, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm a little bit calmer now.
Me too.
Still excited though.
Yeah.
Yes. That's yes. And so, since we are already using the little things in our life to glorify God, definitely as a Christian singer, you want to use your most fine craft to serve it to God and to worship God, to glorify God as well. Yes. So for me, even let's talk about secular work. So even when I am performing secular music, I want to use my understanding of worship to present my art, to present my work. At the same time, through me, that people could see the work of God. Hopefully,
Yeah.
we pray to be, worthy of His
Mm.
glory and His calling. So we also know that when we serve, we are not just serving God, we're serving through God the people. So whatever we do, even with our gestures, with our presence, if we can convey that message somehow to the congregation, we should. Now,
Yeah.
when we talk about early sacred music, it's another level, So as a performer, in general, you want to put up the best foot forward, all right? You want to bring
Yes.
the best of you to present your voice as a general singer. As present your voice, you present the story, to present the collaboration that you have, musicianship with the people. But then, as a Christian, you know that it's not just that. Those are the tools. The real meat of the content is the message, right?
Exactly. Yes.
So that's why I was using story just now, the word story. But now I'm talking about message. Everybody can tell a story, right? Now I'll just find a new story on the phone and just read it to you. That's the storytelling. But if you want to be a messenger, if you want to deliver the message in the music, you really need to go back to the Bible and you really need to pray about it and you have to meditate about those words before you perform.
Yeah.
Because now we know that we're not just a performer, especially when we are coming as a group of Christians doing Christian music. We're putting our best feet forward. We want to make sure that it's worthy, that is with good quality to serve it to God, at the same time to glorify His name through our performance to bring the message to the congregation / the audience if it's in a concert hall, right?
Yes. So when we are talking about, the title of our conversation tonight is Countertenor as a vessel for music offering. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's not only countertenor, all of us who sing, but of course tonight we are talking about countertenor. And then last time I also have a talk with a friend of mine, Reverend Billy Cristanto, and we were talking about giving our best to the Lord. I
Mm-hmm.
think that thing, as a Christian, and to be specific, for us as a Christian performer, I think that we need to always be reminded of that. So whenever
Yes.
we perform, whenever we sing, whatever comes out from our mouth,
Mm-hmm.
we need to give our best to the Lord because, yeah, He
Yes.
deserves to receive the best from us.
Exactly. So and some people might ask me again. So do you think everybody can be a countertenor, or should I be a countertenor? Can we sing? Should a boy sing in the choir as a soprano, an alto? Should we sing at all? Should we just, if we're in a congregation, should we just stand there and for those who lead us to sing us and we just, meditate? But I would always go back. If the question comes out, I would always go back to the verse, Psalm 150, verse 6. Let everything that has breath praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
So
Yeah.
whenever you have doubt if you were going to sing or not, just remember this voice. As long as you are breathing, use it well. Take a good deep breath and project that beautiful voice of you and sing and praise the Lord.
Yeah. I mean,
Mm.
very good. So GDC's friends of GDC, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to type your question, or maybe you all are in awe uh, because you heard so much tonight. So yeah, we can. I also love one verse from the Bible, from Colossians 3:16. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, teaching at admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God.
Mm.
Yeah, isn't that beautiful? Yeah, I
Yes.
think, yeah, yeah. I believe you also have the experience to sing under our teacher, Reverend Lee. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
although I only got the chance to sing with you once on the
Mm.
last November. Yeah, I don't know whether after this thing passed, the pandemic passed, maybe we can share the same stage again someday. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Do you
would
have
love.
any experience to sing with under Reverend Lee? Maybe you would like
Yes.
to share with us here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very much thankful to Draven Lee and his willingness to work with young singers and young musicians and all or singers from all ages. And
Yes.
he is a very professional musician, but he is
Yes.
also a preacher, as we call him reverently, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So whenever I get to work with him, not only that I am musically rejuvenated and
Yeah.
getting more information about music or new interpretation and
Yeah.
new ideas about singing and working with them, but through the collaboration between us with Dr. Reverend Lee, I am more spiritually matured because of the entire experience. I wouldn't say I started singing already. I wouldn't say I started singing early church music already by looking into the words the first day I started to sing. For me, it's voice first, music first, harmony first, and then the text.
Yeah.
You know, it's not even the message, it's the text.
Yeah.
But then through the past many years of working with Reverend Lee, I started to use it as an opportunity for me to grow not only as a musician, also as a Christian. So whenever we had a chance, we would talk, especially when he is leading the choir, he would share with the choir members like,
Yeah.
what does this verse mean?
Yeah.
And why is the music composed in such a way?
Yeah.
Because the message tells us so such and such. So you know, with that, I grew up. I grew a lot, and I matured a lot as a Christian and as a musician as well. So every time that I had an opportunity to work with him, I always look forward to be more inspired, to be more learned in a way in terms of music as well as my faith. Yeah.
He's
So it's
full of inspirations. Yeah, he's a great teacher for me too. Yeah, I believe for too many singers, too many people, he's also a great teacher. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way,
That's why.
There is a question
Okay.
here. Is
Sure.
there a specific characteristic in the voice that you would pinpoint to identify if a boy should sing in tenor or a female voice part, soprano or alto?
It's a hard question. I can't say there is one point to just like, aha, you are a boy soprano, aha, you know. Every kid has a boy range, right? Before
Yes.
puberty, before their voices break. So every boy should actually sing, not should is a huge word. Probably should, I will, anyway, I'm gonna just use the word should probably sing soprano and alto just because of the nature of their voices. You know, they are naturally high, naturally, you know, it's healthy. But during the transition, which is like about, some kids are younger, some kids are older, but it's like 16, no, maybe 13, around 13, the voices started to break.
Change.
That's the most quote unquote problematic part for the teachers because the voice is transitioning and there is no we have no idea what it's gonna like in 2 years because it's still growing, right?
Yes,
so
that's right.
My suggestion is always, if they can still sing in falsetto, let them continue to sing in soprano or alto range, where they were already singing when they were younger as a soprano and alto. So if there will be a range. They will be like, it's only normal. So the good thing about choir is we have many singers. So while they're facing the problem,
they can cover that.
They can cover that, and also you can mark out the place for them to not sing and just only focus on those parts. And try not to make it a shameful thing. No, it's part of us growing up as from boy to man, right?
Yeah.
So just make it as comfortable as it can be for them to do that. And then only after the full transition, then you kind of audition them and see if they are a tenor or soprano. But having said that, in the beginning of the fully transitioned period, they could be just a bass. But then another years later, they could be a tenor. You never know. So it's always good to constantly re-auditioning your singers and help them along the way to be as comfortable as they can to use their voice to serve.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. So Noel, I believe that answers your question. Yeah. Okay. There's one more question. What is the range of a normal singer versus countertenor?
What do you mean by a normal singer? Like, I mean, I can tell you what sort of normal range for a countertenor is. It's a little bit lower than a mezzo in general. Each of us has a different vocal range. But my range is about like A below middle C and G to middle C, and then G sharp. Yeah.
Yeah. About the countertenor. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think that answers your question. At 10-1S. I don't know. Yeah. So I think they are shared to ask more questions. Yeah. So we can before we ended before we end this session. Yeah. Anything you want to say to us, because we have, I think, 3 minutes left here.
It's been enjoyable. I hope if you have questions, and if we're not able to cover every question, you can always send me a text or send Daru, and then we can have a private chat somewhere else.
Or you can send it to GDC's Instagram account, gdc.gloriamus, and then we'll pass the question to you to answer. Yeah. So thank you for your willingness to be a guest in our talk tonight. Yeah, really, it is really treasure. Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
I really thank God for having you here. I think all of us did receive blessing from you. So friends, thank you for joining us. And then we are going to have some more guests in the future. So please to follow our Instagram account, gdc.gloriamus. And then also you follow Instagram, Wee Kiat Instagram account. Can you mention your account, please?
Maybe okay, my name is Wee Kiat. So Wee Chia.
Wee Chia. Yeah, okay, nice. Thank you, Wee Kiat. So see you next time. Thank you, everybody.
See you.
So good night. Good morning to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.